Hiram Daniels, written by Mike Rice. Hiram Daniels was born about 1820 in New York to Henry Daniels and Betsy Harris. His father, Henry, was a veteran of the War of 1812. He had two brothers, Alva, who was 10 years older, and John, who was 9 years younger. Hiram and Alva arrived in Wisconsin in about 1850. Alva, his wife, and 9 kids lived in Kenosha, where he worked as a laborer. Other cousins and relatives also lived in the Waukesha-Walworth area. Hiram was living with a farm family in Ottawa, Wisconsin in 1850, working as a laborer. By 1860, Hiram had moved to Eagle and was living with the Harding family, where he and John Harding worked as laborers. After the Confederate attack on the Union Fort Sumter in April 1861, Wisconsin organized many regiments in defense of the Union. At 41 years old, Hiram was one of a dozen Eaglemen who left for Camp Randall in Madison to join the war effort by enlisting in Company B of the 17th Wisconsin Infantry Regiment in December 1861. The unit was mustered into service and left for St. Louis, Missouri in March 1862, engaging in many battles in the South, including the battles of Corinth, Port Gibson, Champion Hill, Kennesaw Mountain, Atlanta, and Jonesboro, as well as the sieges at Vicksburg, Atlanta, and Savannah, Georgia. Vicksburg, Mississippi was a strategic location for the Confederates because control of trade along the Mississippi kept supplies moving between the western states of Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana, and the eastern states in the south. With their big cannons strategically located in Vicksburg, the Confederates could blast any Union boats moving on the Mississippi River. Union General Ulysses Grant was determined to defeat the Confederate forces at Vicksburg. Union forces attempted assaults in the spring and summer of 1863, but Confederate forces held their ground. On May 1863, the 17th Wisconsin took part in an assault on the enemy. Leading a charge forward, they were met with heavy rifle fire until they were within 75 yards of the enemy. Cut off from support, they held their position for 2 hours under heavy rifle and cannon fire. Several men were killed and wounded as they fell back to their original position. A second assault on May 22nd was met by a terrible storm of grape and canister shot that tore through the men, leaving bodies unrecognizable. Hiram Daniels was among those killed in that assault. Casualties for the 17th Wisconsin on those 2 days were 13 killed and 50 wounded. General Grant realized that the only way to take Vicksburg would be to lay siege to the city. After a month without supplies, Confederate forces surrendered at Vicksburg on July 4, 1863. The Union victory cut the Confederacy in two at the Mississippi River. The victory was a turning point in the war. After clearing the battlefield and identifying bodies, Hiram Daniels was officially declared dead on June 3, 1863, and is buried in the Vicksburg National Military Park in Vicksburg, Mississippi.